Atomic Habits. James Clear. Learn about a simple and proven way to develop good habits and get rid of bad ones. What is a habit? If someone asked you about your daily habits, you might need some time to think about it. Because a habit, by definition, is an action you perform automatically. An action you don't even have to think about. That's why you may not realize how a small daily action can have a powerful impact on your life. If you save $1 a day or smoke 1 cigarette a day, these actions may seem insignificant right now. But in 20 years, these habits could make you wealthy or, unfortunately, kill you. That's why it's important to understand how habits are formed so that you can learn to get rid of harmful ones, adopt healthy ones, and regain control over your life. Introduction. The author offers a simple formula for improving your life every day. If you strive to get your life back on track, James Clear, one of the world's leading experts on self-development, reveals strategies that will help you build good habits and eliminate bad ones. You will also learn how small daily actions can have an incredible impact on your life and future. From this book, you will learn how to find time for new habits, overcome a lack of motivation, track your habits, and find an accountability partner to help you succeed. Idea 1. Why small habits can make a big difference. When it comes to success, many people focus on the wrong things. They focus on the end goal while ignoring the process of achieving it and believe that big decisions will lead him to the final result. However, this is far from the truth. At first, there is essentially no difference between a choice that is 1% better or 1% worse. But over time, these small improvements or declines accumulate. And suddenly you find a huge gap between people who make slightly better decisions every day and those who don't. Just think about it. If you get 1% better every day for a year, by the end of the year you will be 37 times better. That's why small decisions don't matter much in the moment. But in the long run, they bring great benefits. For example, an airplane flying from Los Angeles to New York requires a certain degree of direction to reach its final destination. Imagine if the pilot shifted the course by just 3.5 degrees to the south. This might seem insignificant to an ordinary observer, and few would notice such a small change. However, upon landing, passengers would notice a huge difference. This small adjustment would change the destination from New York to Washington, D.C. We usually don't notice small changes because their impact is not immediate. Their influence may not show up for months or even years, but the results can be enormous. For example, eating 1 slice of pizza won't harm you. But if you eat a slice of pizza every evening for dinner, you will likely see changes in your weight within a year. The results of your life depend on your habits. A person's wealth is simply a reflection of their financial habits. Just as a person's health is the result of daily habits related to nutrition and physical activity. Time increases the gap between success and failure. Therefore, our daily choices have a much greater impact than we realize. If you want to predict where you'll end up in life, simply track the trajectory of your daily choices. Bad habits can affect us just as easily as good habits can lift us up. That's why it's important to understand how you can design your daily habits to work in your favor. The key is making small changes in your behavior that, when repeated again and again, become habits that lead to big results. Idea 2. How habits are formed. How many times have you started a good habit, such as exercising or going to bed earlier, only to realize a few days or weeks later that it has turned into constant stress? Habits are difficult to change because many people try to change them the wrong way or change the wrong things. To change our habits, we must first understand how they are formed. The habit-forming process can be divided into 4 stages: cue, craving, response, and reward. For example, brushing your teeth in the morning. Your cue might be breakfast or coffee, which creates the desire to feel fresh and energized. Your response is going to the bathroom sink and picking up the toothbrush. The reward is the feeling of freshness in your mouth that prepares you for the new day. You don't even think about the process. It's a habit you've repeated so many times that it happens automatically. This habit loop can be applied to many actions you perform every day. The cue always triggers a craving, which motivates the response, followed by a reward that satisfies the craving and becomes associated with the cue. It's important to understand this habit loop so we can learn to replace cues, cravings, responses, and rewards to create better habits. Let's see how you can start building them today. Idea 3. Make it obvious. When it comes to cues such as the sound of your phone or the smell of coffee, they prompt us to check notifications or brush our teeth. Once you understand how certain stimuli influence your actions, you can learn to manipulate your cues to build better habits. For example, a dietitian at a general hospital in Boston believed she could improve the eating habits of thousands of employees and visitors simply by changing their environment. She decided to replace soda with bottled water in refrigerators near the checkout. But she didn't stop there. She added bottled water to every food station in the cafeteria. Within 3 months, water sales increased by 26%, while soda sales dropped by 11%. Thanks to these simple changes, people made healthier choices because the cue to drink water became more noticeable than the cue to drink soda. Vision is the most powerful human sensory ability. The human body contains nearly 11 million sensory receptors, and almost 10 million of them are dedicated to vision. In other words, visual cues are among the strongest motivators of behavior. That's why small changes in what we see can lead to big changes in what we do. Fortunately, we can change our environment to our advantage. For example, if you want to develop the habit of playing the guitar, you're much less likely to practice if the guitar is locked away in a case in the closet. Instead, place the guitar somewhere easy to see, such as in the center of the room. Want to work out more? Lay out your workout clothes and sneakers the night before so you see them when you wake up. Creating visual cues draws attention to the desired habit. You can also create cues by planning ahead, deciding when, where, and how you will do something. When you make a plan, you're more likely to stick to your habits. For example, a study of voters in the U.S. showed that people who were asked what time they would vote and how they would get to the polling station were far more likely to vote than those who were simply asked whether they would vote. So instead of telling yourself you'll exercise more often, make a plan. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I will go to the gym after work. Then pack your bag and leave it on the front seat of your car so it's always visible. Idea 4. Make it attractive. Every day we are bombarded with advertising designed to make clothes, food, household goods, everything more attractive. Society is filled with distorted versions of reality, using perfect lighting and Photoshop to make products more appealing. The same can be applied to our habits. The more attractive something is, the more likely we are to adopt it as a habit. When we do something pleasurable, such as eating or having sex, our brain releases dopamine, making us feel good. But dopamine is released not only during the activity. It's also released when we anticipate something pleasurable. This is why children feel excited on Christmas morning. They anticipate gifts and Santa Claus, and their brains release dopamine, associating Christmas with joy. Of course, There are things that feel good but aren't always good for us. People can easily become addicted to sex, drugs, and food, and such addictions can damage our health and relationships. That's why it's important to use this knowledge to our advantage. If we make habits something we look forward to, we're more likely to stick with them. One way to do this is temptation bundling, linking an action you want to do with an action you need to do. For example, Ronan Byrne, a student from Ireland, knew he needed to exercise more but lacked motivation. Like many of us, he enjoyed watching Netflix. His solution: he connected his stationary bike to his laptop and wrote a simple program that allowed him to watch Netflix only if he was pedaling at a certain speed. He turned an activity he hated into one he enjoyed. You don't need to be an engineer to apply this idea. Simply save your favorite shows to watch on the treadmill or reward yourself with Netflix after completing your goals. This makes your habits more attractive. Make it easy. Jerry Uelsman, a professor at the University of Florida, assigned his photography students a project due at the end of the semester. He divided them into two groups. The first group was graded on quantity. 100 photos earned an A, 94 AB, 80 AC, and so on. The second group was graded on the quality of a single photograph. Which group performed better? The quantity group. Why? Because they improved their skills by taking hundreds of photos. While the second group spent all their time trying to perfect just one image. This idea applies to habits as well. People often focus too much on finding the best approach and end up doing nothing. They plan and research endlessly but never act. Instead of worrying about how long it takes to build a habit, just start doing it. The best way to break a bad habit is to make it impractical. For example, if you want to stop watching TV after work, unplug the TV and remove the batteries from the remote. Another technique is the 2-minute rule. Start small and make the habit easy. Instead of telling yourself you need to study, just tell yourself to open your notes. Breaking habits into simple steps makes them easier to form and increases the chances of long-term success. Idea 6. Make it satisfying. The final step in building a long-term habit is making it satisfying. Successful companies understand this principle. For example, toothpaste manufacturers added mint to make brushing teeth enjoyable due to the fresh aftertaste. In the 1990s, Stephen Luby worked in Karachi, Pakistan, as a public health researcher. He reduced diarrhea among children by 52%, pneumonia by 48%, and skin infections by 35%. By introducing better soap. The soap foamed well and smelled pleasant, making handwashing enjoyable. As a result, people adopted the habit. Some habits bring immediate pleasure, but others don't. This is called delayed reward. For example, we work every day but get paid at the end of the month. Meanwhile, habits that feel good now, like smoking, can have delayed negative consequences. That's why it's important to attach immediate rewards to good habits. For example, a couple wanted to stop eating out and save money. They created a savings account called Trip to Europe and transferred $50 every time they cooked. At home, watching the money grow created immediate satisfaction and reinforced the habit. Idea 7. The importance of tracking habits. Building good habits and breaking bad ones is hard. Progress can feel slow, and we crave visual proof. Habit tracking provides that proof. Benjamin Franklin tracked his habits in a small notebook, recording daily whether he followed his 13 personal virtues. The simplest method is marking a calendar when you complete a habit. Tracking creates visual progress and makes the habit more satisfying. Studies show that people who track goals such as weight loss, blood pressure reduction, or quitting smoking are more successful than those who don't. Accountability partners and habit contracts also help. Behavior changes when there are immediate consequences. For example, Brian Harris, an entrepreneur from Nashville, signed a habit contract with his wife and trainer. If he failed to track his food, he paid $100. If he didn't weigh himself, he paid $500. The contract worked because he didn't want to disappoint them. Conclusion. Many people believe success comes from big changes. But in reality, small daily habits have the greatest impact on our lives. Our habits shape who we become. The 4 laws of behavior change are: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying.